is. These are the things that I, going off of articles and reviews and stuff like that, trying to really understand what it is that a leader does, because it's not like they're on the back with a whip. They should be in the front,
Yeah, you gotta be.
What I mean? You gotta be in the front, where everyone's following you because they want to, because you're accomplishing something. You're doing it with, integrity. I think integrity is one of the big things that's really important, and you can't have integrity or get respect if you don't do the thing that you're telling them to do.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, there's a lot of stuff in all that.
Anyway, I've just been reading a lot about it, so I figured I'd bring it up, at least as far as the emotional intelligence bit.
Yeah, it's very important, and people get very closed off to other people's emotionality and personal circumstances, and then it's hard to have fun without being emotionally intelligent as well, because if you can find out what somebody really likes, and you can motivate them and allow that to come out in their job, if they're really into art or really into talking to people or something, then you can use that in a good way, as opposed to just ignoring it and being like, well, just do your job the way I want.
Yeah.
So, definitely important, and lots of information on that.
It is,
that hbr.org.
Yep. Definitely go there if you have any interest in business or... I feel like if you're just a manager in your profession right now, it's cool just to read and see what other people have to say who are, bigwigs and professionals in the environment and industry.
Yeah, and they're really easy to read. I read
none of them are like ridiculous.
3 or 4 in a few hours, and it was just really easy.
Yeah, some of them were pretty short too. There was just like a few bullet points on just like cool little tips that I'm just like, oh, I didn't really think about that. So,
fucking A.
Anyway.
Right on.
Let's just segue into, we went and saw Chappie last weekend.
Yes, we did. And I think we're both a little bit torn on the on the general the outcome of our experiences. I think I don't know, what do you think about that?
So I was jazzed for that movie because I like Neil Blomkamp. I liked all of his movies. District 9 obviously in particular is, I think, like lightning in a bottle almost. Like the movie was just really unique and interesting, and a ton of fun to watch. And then Elysium, I felt like was a really solid sci-fi action movie. Like it wasn't like groundbreaking or as unique as District 9, but it was just entertaining. It had the Charlton Copley's villain and Matt Damon, they both did a great job. And so I was really excited for Chappie when it was coming out, because it seemed like it was going to be kind of a cross between the two. Like it had that it seemed like it was going to have like a distinct feel to it, like District 9, while maintaining that kind of more poppy action that you saw in Elysium, like the more standard shootout sequences and stuff. And so I don't know. That movie is tough. So I like Chappie, and then I can't stand it.
What do you like
at the
about
same time? I like the character himself. Chappie was a great character. Charlton Copley did the voice for him. I don't know if he like mocapped it or not. I forgot to look into that. Him and like Neil Blomkamp are like buddies, or like Johnny Depp and Tim Burton. Like every movie that I think Neil Blomkamp's done, like Charlton Copley's in it, which he was the main protagonist in District 9. He was the villain in Elysium, and then he's Chappie in Chappie. He at least does the voice. And that character was funny. It was interesting to see like something start as essentially as a baby and then just kind of grow rapidly. And he did a really good job, because it could have been something that was just so ridiculous that you couldn't take it seriously at all. But he did it with just the right kind of pizzazz that it just worked. Like I believed that robot would have really responded to all the things how it did. And the overall plot was pretty decent. I feel like it was a pretty standard like robot against humanity type of plot. I wish that they would have explored more about the robot himself. Like I wish that it would have just been about a robot learning to be a human, instead of it because instead it's like an action movie where he just happened to be a kid for like an hour and now he's like a gangster. The whole thing just felt like unbalanced and very rapid moving without any kind of sensibility to it. But the thing is, I really can stand. I didn't even really know who DeAntwoord was before the movie, which is like a big popular like South African, it was like a rap group, hip hop group, something like that.
It's like dance. It's like hip hop dance, kind of techno. It's a weird genre.
But they were the worst part of that movie. Like, they dragged that whole movie down for me because, especially the ninja guy, he was god awful. The girl, I can't remember her name. She was okay. Like,
Yolandi.
She was like the stereotypical clingy mother type character for I don't understand why, because she
very childish.
And so she was okay. She was like annoying, but Ninja was just obnoxious. Like every scene he was in, I was just like, this is awful. Like I was kind of just wanting him to die through the whole movie. I just wanted him to get killed off somehow. And then the ad placement essentially for their band the whole time was really off-putting. Like they were wearing their own band shirts through the whole movie. It was pretty much their music playing the entire time. It just felt like it was a giant ad for like, hey, we're a band in South Africa. Watch this movie we're in. So I can understand wanting to use musicians in movies. It's been done, but I you know, you can use their music, obviously, like maybe they did the theme song or something, but to just like have your own product placement in the whole movie and every bit of music is your music, and they weren't good actors. It just literally dragged the whole movie down for me. And then the other thing that I didn't like was Hugh Jackman's character was a villain that made no sense. He had no like real problem, because his whole deal was that he had this big robot project that got undermined when these new Scout ones came in, and they explained to him exactly why it is that his project doesn't get to work. It's huge, it's expensive, it's overkill. These things are cheaper, they're more efficient, they're smaller, and they work really freaking well. Like they had already had the huge plummet in crime, and so his character was just an idiot. Like I can understand being upset if they just canceled it and then didn't tell you why, and they just kind of kicked you in the balls and left you. But they explained to him why, and then he gets to keep working there. Like why wouldn't he just help them make the Scouts better? Like his character didn't make any sense. He was just a villain to just be a villain. Like it's like, well, we need like another villain in the movie, so we'll just make a Hugh Jackman, and he'll just be ridiculous and over the top, and have no real motivation for why he's doing the things he's doing. It's like he turns all the Scouts off towards the end of the movie, plummeting that whole city into just mayhem.
He was a psychopath.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like his character was just unnecessary.
I think he was my least favorite character in the whole movie.
I think that had they not had those, like the Dev Patel's character, the doctor who actually made Chappie, he was okay. Like I wish that it would have just been about him and Chappie and him teaching. I think it would have been better.
Very different movie.
Yeah, it would have just been a better movie had it been more about teaching something to be human that wasn't human. And then you could have still had like the gunfights. Like somebody could have tried to reclaim him from him, you know, because he was doing it clandestinely without the approval of his company. Yeah. So I feel like they should have done that. Is the movie is like it had a really big focus on their relationship between them and how he becomes like a father figure, and then they come try to take him away because he's like a pet project that shouldn't exist. Yeah. And then you could have your conflict and action sequences stem from that. Yeah. But instead, it was like. I don't even know how to put it into words. I think I was just really disappointed with it. I think in my mind I had hyped it up a little bit too much, and from the previews, I think that I had a different idea of what the movie was going to be than what it was, because it's kind of like it's like a comedy at some points. Like there were parts where I was laughing so hard I was like crying, and then it's just a really dark, violent movie in other sequences. And so like that kind of roller coaster was a little off-putting too. I'm just like, it's like a comedy, but not. I don't know. Like there's dark comedies, and there's a way to balance that and do it properly. And this movie didn't, because they should have just kind of stuck with one thing. They could have had funny moments in it, but. The balance between the comedy and like the really grim dystopian violence that's in it just didn't really mesh that well. But I don't know. Overall I think it's worth watching. Like it was like a decent movie all the way through. It's definitely my least favorite Neil Blomkamp film. But it's worth watching, I feel like. But just kind of, I think if you go in kind of having a better expectation of what kind of movie it is, it's probably more enjoyable. That's why I typically try not to have, like... Yeah. I try not to hype up movies in my mind. Or
it looked way cool. Yeah. The previews were like, oh my God, this is going to be sick.
Yeah. And, but anyway, I'm just overcritical, I think. I write books, so I just like story structure is like a huge deal for me, and so I feel like I nitpick story structure in movies and things a lot more than probably most people do. But how did you feel about it now that I've gone on ranting for like 15 minutes about
It wasn't that long.
my love-hate relationship?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with the weird unbalanced plot line. I didn't really get it. I hated the Hugh Jackman whole storyline. I thought that was stupid. He should have been working for the military, not for a small one.
Yeah,
He was working for one city's police department, and one weapons manufacturer. You know, that place was, and his item was essentially a fucking mech.
Yeah, it was like a walking. It was like a bipedal tank, basically.
So it didn't make any sense for him to exist at all. And he was a psychopath, and he pulled his gun out and assaulted another employee in the middle of everyone saw. He would be fired immediately, and he should be brought up on charges for that. But obviously, Sigourney Weaver's character was unimpressive.
She was a throwaway too.
Totally throwaway. No, it didn't need to be there at all. And the scientist who created the AI, I didn't like him either. He was super weak for being a fucking genius. The concept of cracking the code of consciousness or cracking the code of AI, like, I mean, AI isn't like they're working on making AI. You know, like solve problems. If you want to make it like a person, that's fine. But it's like we don't make robots to be like people. We make robots to fucking be tools. Robots are tools. Robots are machines, and they have programming, and you can make the programming very complicated and allow for decision-making matrices and all sorts of really complicated things. And you know, they have made computers that can beat chess champions. You know, like that chess is really complicated, but it has a finite set of rules. Whereas human consciousness adapts to its environment. It grows slowly over time from our biology, from our DNA, from our brains. You know, it's fucking complicated, and we do not understand consciousness for shit. We think we're getting, you know, better information on all that, but
it was definitely like a an imaginative science that they use in it. It was like you just had to understand and just kind of go with it. Like, okay, he made a robot that's like a person, basically.
Yeah. But then that's one of the logical inconsistencies is, okay, so he had the genius to come up with an AI program that mimics a child into adulthood, right? That learns. So like a person. But he doesn't get... He wasn't prepared, nor did he understand anything about children, child development, babies, language acquisition. He didn't know about any of that stuff. He had to like look it up and then buy stupid kid books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like if you were going to create an AI that creates babies, you would have to study psychology. You'd have to study physics. You'd have to study everything related to the development of human consciousness. You can't just go straight from programming to consciousness without really understanding both.
Well, I think that might have been a part of like the theme of the movie was people just jumping into things without understanding them. Like our technology progresses so quickly that people don't even really understand how it works anymore. We just use it.
But that can't be the case with AI. Yeah. He literally wrote every line of code related to every program that this thing could do. You can't write an algorithm that doesn't have limitations. That just, I mean, that I know of. I don't know that much about AI, but I know that it's very complicated. And so it was just frustrating that he could do this without that. And then first they go from AI, now it's consciousness. AI and consciousness are different things. Consciousness is what humans do that is very mysterious to us. And AI is a program. It's a computer program that solves problems, essentially. So, and people don't just solve problems. We do a lot more than that. But and then so now it's a being with consciousness. But then if it's a being with consciousness based on programming, then there's no reason to think that you couldn't just download his stream of consciousness into something else, a body that works better, which they end up doing anyway at the end. And then the robot, instead of teaching, it would be the least efficient thing to create a robot that has no starting knowledge. Why would you want to have a robot that doesn't know English? Why don't you just program into the robot every language ever perfectly? There's no reason why you wouldn't do that. It'd be very inefficient if you want a robot that can do everything, like the best person, the superhuman, then why wouldn't you just do that? It would be just uber inefficient to have it start at 0. So, or if you were going to have it start at 0, you just plug it into the internet immediately.
Well,
The first thing you would do, he does that on his own later, and then even after he knows everything, like he literally, the robot who is consciousness from AI is now conscious, understands consciousness from the internet.
Yeah.
You can't go on the internet and understand consciousness. Even if you read everything about everything, you still wouldn't be able to create it or even understand it. It's just very complicated, and we don't understand neurobiology enough. And then he's right after that, the next scene, he doesn't understand that when you throw a throwing star at a human being, that they don't go to sleep.
Yeah.
He just looked at all of the internet. He literally says that in the movie. It's all on the internet. I'll figure it out. He looks at everything on the internet, and then he can't figure out that people die.
Almost murdering people. Yeah.
So you can't have this uber intelligence without it just changing everything. He wouldn't go on these. He wouldn't have been on the heist at the very end of the movie. He'd be like, "Oh my God, this is a complicated world, and you guys are idiots." Like, he would figure out that people don't always know what they're talking about. That the dad was manipulated. He would know everything. So it was just it was really frustrating and somewhat insulting as an audience member to have such a lack of thought. Like, if you're going to make a movie about the differences between humans and robots and the dystopian future that can come from a misunderstanding of our use of technology, then put some fucking time into making it consistent. If you're in this world, then make it make sense. Like in that other movie where Johnny Depp Singularity movie,
Transcendence.
Yeah, I never saw the movie, but from the commercials, at least it was very over encompassing. Like he gets into the internet, and then he kind of can control the world. Any technological.
It's actually a really good movie. It's a bummer that it flopped really bad at the box office, but it's worth watching. It was a really interesting sci-fi flick that was pretty smartly done, I thought.
Yeah, it just I get frustrated because I think about the future, robots, technology, consciousness, philosophy, religion, child development. I think about all the stuff that was in this movie, which is why I was excited to watch it. And then to see it just be reduced down to this, let's just pretend like this robot is a person. We'll make it as an analogy to a person, which is why everyone got so sad when he got, a Molotov cocktail thrown on him. But he's not a person. I was never scared for him. It's a fucking robot. I don't fucking burn it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's a tool that someone created and could easily recreate. That's why it's different from people. That's, there's only one of me, and there will only be one of me until we can completely copy my brain, and even that's probably not possible. So I thought it was kind of like, I don't know, I just found it frustrating as far as what the message was. Like, what's the moral of the story? That we should create robots or not create robots?
That was my problem too, is I was like, if there's a message in this movie, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at figuring that stuff out.
Yeah.
And so usually when I'm watching movies, I'll notice things like that while I'm watching it, and I just kind of put it on the back burner in my mind. I'm just going to watch it. I just want to see it all, and then when it's over, then I'll really kind of tear into it and think about it a lot. But even after I watched that movie, I was like, I don't even know what that movie was about, really.
The only good thing that they did was show that a developing mind, which is what they represented with Chappie, is hugely influenced by its environment. I thought that was very good. It was a good story to tell. Was you put it around bad gangsters, it's going to act like a bad gangster. If they would have shown a different Chappie, in a different environment, they could have showed how a better environment changes the way it developed or whatever. I thought that was interesting, analogous to child development.
That would have been a great movie, actually.
Right,
to have a movie about two of them. One gets stolen by these gang members and raised differently, and then the other one's raised by the scientist. And then they meet at the halfway point of the movie, and then have to. I don't know. That'd be a really interesting movie, actually.
Yeah, and then definitely one of the main problems with any story is if I don't care about a character, if I don't care about one main character, then there's no reason for me to enjoy anything that's going on. There's no relatability. I just hate everyone. I want them all to die, and I don't even want them to die. I really just want the movie to be done. I just don't care at that point if they die or because it's not real. So I just didn't like any of the characters, and I think Chappie was by far the most interesting character, and by far the most the only character that developed over time. None of the other characters changed at all, which is I think a a part of storytelling that's going away in a lot of action movies is that you have to have a character, the typical storyline is that a character change over the course of the story, and they go through some struggles, they realize something about themselves, and they change, and they become a better person, even if it means their ultimate death or something tragic or something awesome, like they get married or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's always change. Characters have to change because that's like just a huge, storytelling thing that we do. And none of the characters in it mattered. So it would have been nice if Chappie had learned a lot and then maybe decided he wanted to go live a different life, get the hell away. And then the ending of the movie seemed like they just wanted to package it up in this nice little happy.
They made everybody happy.
Fuck that ending.
People who died are they're magically back alive again.
Because they solved all of our problems with consciousness. They solved all the problems with digitally encoding it. They solved all the problems of persistence with consciousness, which is once you stop it and then start it, how does that change things? And then they figured out, and then somehow you can put it into a brain, a CPU. So it was just, I thought it was mildly insulting, not like I'm offended, actually, but
can I write a letter?
Yeah, I don't care that but it's like, how dumb am I supposed to be to think that this is possible in the way that they show it?
Yeah.
They didn't show any major advances in technology other than these robots. Like, this one kid came up with this AI that's just that literally just leads itself to the ultimate in consciousness, mechanism integration, so I just thought it was ultimately just stupid. You know what I mean? Just stupid, violent, and not nuanced, not thought provoking. It was more like, oh no, this is not right. Sorry.
It almost seemed like a movie where because Blomkamp and his wife wrote the screenplay, and it almost seems like something that they had started working on, and then a bigwig or somebody
changed.
Looked at it and was like,
we need this, we need that.
Yeah, we need more exciting things to happen. Yeah. We need
a love interest,
and explosions. You got to really cater this to a general audience. Because I think it would have been better, like I said, had it just been a movie about Chappie and the scientists growing together and developing, and the scientist learns more about life through essentially raising a child.
You can do a lot with that.
I mean, I think it was one of those movies that had this cool kind of core idea, but just floundered it so miserably on the plot that they chose. Yeah. It makes me want to just write a story with the same basic, very basic plot structure, and then just write the story that I wish that it would have been, kind of a thing.
Well, AI is going to be a huge topic of conversation for the next fucking forever, and AI and technology and virtual reality and all of it is changing, and it's going to be a huge part of media and storytelling, I'm sure.
The next novel project that I've started doing notes for is going to be about
AI.
Mostly, I've always liked sci-fi and cyborgs and androids and all that stuff, and so I've always wanted to write a story that encompassed those things, and so I've been brainstorming one lately, and so I think that was why I was excited to see Chappie 2. Is when you for me, when I'm when I finally decide on something I want to write and I start making notes and brainstorming, I like to go back and read other books and watch other movies that have those similar elements to learn from those stories, what worked, what didn't, how do they explain these things, because when you're getting into that kind of science, it's a lot of theoretical stuff that you're just making up because it's not real right now. So there's not concrete things you can just base it off of. You just kind of have to explain it enough so that your reader or your viewer, your audience understands what you're trying to get at. So, but
yeah. Well, let me know. I'm very interested in the topic in general. I'm also very interested in simulation theories, that we're in a simulation and all that stuff too.
Matrix
So
style.
so it's very, because at some point, singularity or AI, if it gets to a point where they can just make people that are, then they can make realities that are real, and so it's interesting kind of domino effect when you start thinking about that kind of stuff. But there's another movie coming out that I don't remember the name of.
Is it Ex Machina?
Yep.
I can't wait to see that.
I think we talked about it before.
It's written and directed by Alex Garland. That guy, he wrote...
That's about AI, so...
Yeah, he wrote 28 Days Later. He wrote Sunshine.
Sunshine is great.
anything that guy writes, I will watch it because
Yeah.
he's a great novelist and a great screenwriter.
Yeah.
He wrote The Beach and the screenplay.
Oh yeah, that
for
was a great movie.
Because it started as a novel that he wrote, and then he's written a couple other books too. But that guy's just a fantastic writer.
Yeah.
But yeah, the moment I saw that he was doing that movie, it's like his directorial debut, but he wrote the screenplay for it. I was like, oh, fucking sold. I don't even care what it's about. I'll just watch it.
It's about a hot robot.
Yep.
In a mansion, and I can dig it. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. I like watching that kind of stuff, but as long as there's something to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that movie seems like it's going to be very
much more
nuanced.
focused.
It's more
I
think it's going to be very focused on the interaction between a human and then a robot that thinks it's a human.
Intelligence in general. It's very interesting.
I think it's going to be one of those slow burners that probably is like kind of mind fucks you a little bit through the whole movie, and then has like probably some crazy exciting,
and then turns you over and mind fucks you right from behind.
But I'm very excited about that movie. That comes out next month, actually. So
good. Yeah, right on. And then we got Bloodborne coming out in a little bit. We'll talk about that next time, I'm sure. You know, or whenever it comes out. And
it's a couple weeks out. I don't even know if there's any other good movies coming out this month. Now that I'm thinking about it,
I don't know. I was excited about Chappie, and then I
know, right?
I don't know what else to expect.
It sucks when you're really excited about something, and then it just kind of.
It's funny because I like the Antwoord. I like their music. I think it's not all of it, obviously. Some of it sucks, but I have a couple of their albums, and it's very upbeat and dancey, and I like that kind of music in general. And I think it's a lot of fun, but at the same time, I hated what they did in that movie. I think that their characters are, to me, they're just not unlikable. I don't like them. I don't give a shit about their stupid tattoos and their fucking over the top fucking dress. Like, how's about you take about 10 minutes to think about what you are doing as a human being and not just being a attention grabbing, make a lot of noise kind of person. Like, I get that, like, they're artists and I mean, are they artists or they just want attention? Because it seems like a lot of people just want attention. Yeah. And you know, if you poo in a bag and you call it art, like, you'll get some attention. But to me, that shit sucks. And I thought they overdid I mean, she had a fucking shirt on that said Chappie. She had a shirt made about to promote the movie she's in. It was just like, what is this, a real movie or is this just a big commercial so you can sell merchandise for this band and for Chappie? That's what
I felt.
It's frustrating. Like, create a world. Don't pretend. Like, don't make a really long advertisement.
Yeah. Don't play like a shittier version of yourself. Play like an actual character.
Yeah.
In a different world.
Yeah. And they had their own names. They were called, I don't think they ever said, they had the Antwoord on their shirts and stuff, but they never said.
Well, they called each other by their real names.
Yeah, Yolandi and Ninja.
Yeah.
That's not his real name. I don't think he was born
but
like
that's like his stage name.
Yeah, they call him that. And I think their music's pretty interesting. And I know that it's just characters. That's not, they are known for those characters. That's not how they really act.
Yeah.
Like, they're smart. They do a lot of marketing. They do a lot of they created their own label. They have a lot of like they produce a lot of music. They produce movies and stuff like that. They do a lot of artistic stuff, and they're much more creative than anything. They're just really interesting characters. But the characters that they play are not, I don't like them. I don't like.
No.
I wouldn't want to be their friends.
No.
Like, they're super selfish and like self-centered, and the ninja character in the movie was a fucking psychopath and was horrible. So fuck him. You know.
Well, they tried to make it seem very emotional at the end of the movie too, when like
he saves him and shit.
Like
fuck that.
Finally, finally, these people are dying that I don't care about.
Yeah, it was just like, what? Why should I care? Like, I don't know. Like, if you're gonna do a slow-mo death scene, I should care about the character.
Yeah, exactly.
Dying.
That was all.
Otherwise,
at the end, I was like,
just show him dead. I don't care. I don't care why. Anyway, that's a bit of a scathing review on that movie, but ultimately, I think the CG was great.
Yeah, visually,
Chappie's acting was great. That's about it.
There's a new show that started on the PlayStation Network. You should check out. You get to watch it for free if you have PlayStation Plus. It's called Powers, and it has Charlton Copley in it. He plays the main character, and he's a detective. It takes place in a world where superheroes are a norm. They're just regular. It's just people accept that. And he was once a superhero that lost his powers, and now he's a detective who specializes in solving crime that where they end up dead or something.
What do you mean it's on PlayStation Network?
It's Sony's new show that they just started.
How do
what is it? Actually, if you fire up your PlayStation and go to the PlayStation Store, the first 3 episodes are available.
Are they free?
Yep. If you have PlayStation Plus, you just get to watch the whole show for free.
That's awesome. I'm going to check that out. I love that. Heroes was awesome for like 2 seasons.
Yeah, it seems like kind of like a Heroes thing. Yeah. They said it's like if you took a superhero movie and then combined it with a procedural kind of crime drama. Like it's basically those kind of 2 things mixed together. I haven't watched it yet. I probably actually will watch it tonight when we're done here. But I heard that like the pilot's kind of rough. Like it has
a lot of times the pilots are rough.
It's not like the best start, but they said if you kind of stick with it for the past that to the next couple of episodes, it gets better. But the first 3 episodes are available now, and then you can watch. There's 7 episodes afterward that they're just gonna do 1 per week on Tuesdays.
That's awesome.
But I think you just go to the PlayStation Store and it just streams right through there. So
yeah, I'll check that out. And it's definitely a good ad for PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, I was just mostly doing because we were talking about Charlton Copley, and he's the main character in that show. So
he's great.
That was what made me think of it.
I think him and the main character in Django, I forget his name, the German guy. They're my 2 favorite foreign actors. They're fucking incredible.
Yeah.
If you like superhero shows, have you ever watched Misfits?
Mm-mm.
It's on Hulu. I think the first 4 or 5 seasons are on there.
Oh, wait, that's an animated show, right?
No.
Okay,
It's
that's the Awesomes. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, the Awesomes. I don't like that show that much.
Really
but Misfits is it's kind of like a British version of Heroes, where these kids who they're like teenagers in like a probationary home. They get struck by like this lightning event happens, and they all get struck by lightning, and it gives them different powers based on their emotional state at the time. So like if one of them's like really likes to hide and they're super shy, so they become able to go invisible. So it's really, really deep and emotional and dramatic, but it's also violent, but it's kids, so it's also like sexual and stuff. So it's this really, really dynamic, well acted, well written show. Every episode to me was just like, I want to watch more and more and more of this show, but they're like on a hiatus right now or whatever. But Misfits is fucking awesome. I mean, there's hits and misses on the episodes, but all in all, it's really, really well done.
So I like Heroes was a great show until
for like 3 seasons.
Yeah, well, I think
it got convoluted. Like what? What?
Yeah, the first season was like
it's like Lost,
good, and then it just got worse from there. And then they kind of started to get better. I feel like in the 4th season, like they had like cut out a lot of these excess plot elements, and it was more focused.
Yeah.
And then they got canceled, so I didn't get to see where it went from there. And then now they're bringing it back. Yeah, it's coming back as like Heroes Reborn, and they have like a couple of the cast members from the original one are going to come back, but it looks like it's just going to probably be like all new characters for the most
I think
part.
it probably came out right around like the end of Lost, when a lot of shows were coming out that were these really, like there was a mysterious underpinning that was really hard to stay focused on, like in Lost, and in that show where there's something going on that you'll never maybe know about, and then it's just like, who cares? Whatever.
The problem with Heroes is that they sold it as like a ordinary people that develop superpowers trying to live like a normal day-to-day life, which the show starts out that way. Like one of them's a cop, and then he suddenly can read people's minds, and like what does that mean for him in his career? And like it was like that for the first season, and then it just it becomes like an X-Men comic book where there's like super villains all of a sudden, and all this like clandestine stuff going on, and then it just got like, and then there was like no cool fight scenes in it. I remember there's like one scene where you don't see the fight scene at all. You just see this girl looking through like the crack of a door, and you just see all these lights, figures, and then she opens the door and it's over. And I'm like, oh my god, if you're gonna make this like a fucking comic book, then at least have like the juicy action sequences. So that show I think just had a focus at first, and then they just like the writers just lost track of what they were trying to do, and then it just fell off the rails completely. But
that'll happen.
God, this is just a bunch of scathing. Chappie
what's even way funnier about that is that in the previous episode we were talking about how you shouldn't critique art, and I was like, you shouldn't be critical of art, but I think that was mostly in the way of money. Like we spent money on it. We're not trying to get our money back. Like it's totally worth this $6.50 to go see that movie. Like,
Yeah, it was.
It's an experience. It's entertaining. It's interesting. It gets you thinking. And it wasn't worth. It wasn't a lie. They didn't lie about anything. So that was kind of, I think, where we were getting at last time. And I have been playing The Order, and it is very well done. The graphics are fucking better than anything I've ever seen.
I don't think I've ever played a game that looks better than that.
Storyline's good. I mean, I don't really care about any of the stuff going on in it. I just want to like shoot stuff and throw grenades. But it's well done. It's not easy. It's a tough game. I'm enjoying it for the most part.
Yeah.
How do you like my new things? I'm always buying stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I know. I think
a lot of money
if
into
you
this.
start with the first episode that we put on YouTube,
I'm curious.
it doesn't look anything like this. And then if you just keep watching them, it's like every episode there's some new thing going on.
Some new development in it. Eventually, I mean, in
We're just gonna have like a
couple
disco
weeks.
light up here next time.
Yeah. Well, eventually I'll be like in a studio and I'll have like 3 cameras and and I'll somehow have the money for that.
Yeah.
And
I'm waiting for you to get all this money together. I'm excited.
well, every tax season I'll just buy new crap I don't need per se.
That's what everybody does with their taxes.
Per se. I don't know. Cool. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
So go watch Chappie if you're looking for a decent sci-fi action flick. Just don't watch it for the smarts.
Yes.
That's the moral of this podcast. Anyway, good night, everybody. Good luck. Bada bing, bada boom.